Good morning. It's another 5 a.m. early morning video. I just thought that I would watch this one. It's something interesting. I actually saw that a friend of mine did a video on this, and before I watched the one that he did, which I will do right after I'm done here, I wanted to watch it myself. It's just an interesting topic. It's something I don't usually get too into, and I just thought, why not see what this is about? This is called, from Mind Warehouse, it's called This Guy Came Out of a 12-Year Coma and What He Told Amazed Everyone. So I'm assuming that he's going to talk about what he saw or didn't see, what he heard, didn't hear, if there's anything there while he's in the coma. It could be a lot of things, right? I don't know. What's he going to say? Take what I believe is out there at the end of life, when you move on and do your thing, and kind of put that on a shelf for now and just kind of be open to seeing what he says. I might believe it, I might not, but I'm here for it either way. So let's see. Okay, so thank you for being here. If you've never met me, I'm Kat. Welcome to my channel. I watch videos with people and I play games and I interview cool people and do all kinds of stuff. It's kind of all over the place, but if you're new here, welcome. And if you're returning, welcome back. So we're going to do all the things. Oh, you know what? It's like 5. I can't really be too mad at how crazy I look right now. I'm about to start work. When I'm done with this, I should have like about 20 minutes before work starts. So let's get her done. All right. Like I said, this is from Mind Warehouse, and this guy came out of a 12-year coma, and this is what he told everyone. Let's see. Make sure the volume's up a little. Okay.
Hello everyone. Let's talk a little about things that are really scary. Not about ghosts and other paranormal beings, but about the condition that every person can face. A coma, an absence of reactions, loss of consciousness, in which you seem to freeze between our world and the other side. Having fallen into a coma, some people have been in the state for many years, and
do you think it's just blank? Like, a lot of people think that it's just blank, like that nothing really happens. Like, you basically go to sleep, you wake up, and it's like Rip Van Winkle. It's like years later or months later or days later, and you just didn't know. I mean, there's been stories about that, right? Where people go unconscious and they're like, how long has it been? 2 weeks? What? Like, what happened? You know what I mean? That kind of stuff. So, I don't know.
and doctors still can't make any forecasts. But among the many sad stories, there are those that can be called a real miracle, so we'll talk about them today. Martin Pistorius was born in South Africa in 1975. In January 1988, when the boy was 12 years old, one day he came home from school and complained of a sore throat. It would seem that such a problem is treated with the simplest medications, but Martin never returned to school. His condition disastrously worsened, and doctors could not understand what was happening to the boy. A few days later, he was so exhausted that he almost completely lost control of his body and slept all the time.
Are they implying that just days later he went from being a fully functional like 12-year-old to being that debilitated and disabled? Like, that's a really fast decline.
Soon he began to quickly lose memory, and a couple of days later fell into a coma. The cause of the disease was never established. Martin had long been treated for cryptococcal meningitis and cerebral tuberculosis, but
Meningitis is like nasty.
Everything was useless. After a while, the doctors admitted that Martin completely lost touch with the outside world, and nothing more can be done to help him. He was discharged from the hospital, and the parents were told that they could only look after him and wait for the disease to do its job. Of course, there was a tiny chance that the boy would recover, but the doctors claimed that he would never be able to return to normal life. In a state of coma, people rarely live long, but Martin, contrary to all predictions, kept hanging on to his life. However, was this existence a real life? He spent more than 10 years at home. Everyone thought that he'd lost all contact with the outside world, but Martin claims that he regained consciousness a couple of years after he fell ill. I was completely unresponsive. I was in a virtual...
That's him now. That's that guy now. I mean, he's obviously still in a wheelchair, so there's obviously some permanent effects. right? So he was home in a coma. They brought him home, I guess. I don't know. I feel like I'm missing context here, just a little bit.
Coma. I was lost in the land where dragons lie and no one could rescue me, Martin shared. When he was 17 years old, he completely regained his consciousness. Memory returned to him, but the guy
He was 12. Now he's 17. That's 5 years. It's not 12 years. Just if my math's right, my math might be wrong, new math and all that. I'm just trying to make, I'm sorry, I'm not, I'll just watch. I'm sorry.
guy still couldn't talk. He felt like a ghost because people seemed to look through him, and Martin himself could only watch them. However much I tried to beg and plead, shout and scream, I couldn't make them notice me, Martin wrote later. The stark reality hit me that I was going to spend the rest of my life like that, totally alone.
By the way, that's a really good editing technique for audio to make it that echo, so it sounds like it's someone talking inside of their own head, because that's what it's supposed to feel like. Anyway, it's just a really cool technique. What's funny is I learned about a couple months ago, I learned kind of sort of how to do that. I haven't had any reason to apply it though. So anyway.
The guy was trapped, and his only interlocutor was his own thoughts that could not be called joyful. Once Martin even heard his mother, in a fit of despair, said that it would be better if all this ended right now, no matter how. This was the most terrible moment in his life. The boy was hurt, but he understood that she said it because she considered herself to be a bad mother that can't help her beloved son.
I was gonna say that, as I was afraid that they were gonna focus on him feeling, hearing that, which, by the way, is horrible, right? But on the flip side, there are two sides to it. There's the mom who is helpless and can't do anything, and as far as she knows, take this with a grain of salt, he's dead to the world and he might never wake up. They were probably told he was never going to recover, and so he's just there and there's nothing you can do, and it's just being held. The whole family is held in this state of limbo. Can you imagine? It'd be devastating for everyone, but I mean, to hear that, jeez Louise.
The only one who believed in the boy until the very end was his father. Every day he washed and fed Martin, dressed and even made a massage. Inside, I cried desperately to him. Dad, I'm here. Can't you see? But he didn't notice me. I could only stare, praying my silent desperation would.
If they're in a coma, I thought a coma was eyes closed. I didn't think a coma was you could eat and drink, but you were do you know what I'm saying? Does that make sense? Why am I guess that would add the 5 years, right? I mean, that would add the 7 years. That would equal 12. If you were unable to respond, is that a coma? Is that the same thing? I didn't think that was the same thing. I don't know. Maybe I'm missing something.
Somehow communicate itself, recalls Martin. To train the brain, the boy constantly solved problems in his mind, and one day everything changed. When Martin was 25, one of the paramedics that worked with him noticed his faint attempts to make it clear that he was present. A meaningful look, a barely perceptible smile, a nod. Martin was urgently sent to a special center for alternative communication at the University of Pretoria, where he passed various tests and proved to be conscious. Learning about the improvements of the son's health, the mother quit her job and for the next 2 years helped Martin to develop a special computer program with which Martin can now communicate. He chooses words and the laptop speaks for him.
Hello, I would like to introduce myself. My name is Martin Pistorius.
Having received the opportunity to communicate, the guy was able to finish college and even got a job as a designer in a web company. Long and heavy rehabilitation did its job. A facial expression returned to Martin, the movements of the upper body. In 2008, a facial expression.
I was literally about to pause and ask about that. I was going to be well, wait a minute. So you're saying that because he couldn't communicate that he was not there, or was he literally not moving, his facial features and things like that? And so they just said that he started to regain the ability to move his facial features and to move his upper body in some semblance of a way, right?
returned to Martin the movements of the upper body. In 2008, he met his sister's friend Joanna. A year later, they got married and lived happily together in the UK. "I'm happy with who I am," says Martin. "Life can change so quickly. It is important to appreciate what you have at the moment." In 2011, Martin Pistorius' book Ghost Boy was published, in which he told his story and shared all the experiences that he'd had while he was locked inside his own.
Have you ever heard of locked in syndrome? It's super, I mean, it's like the stuff of nightmares. Like if you were going to curse someone, that would be the way to do it. Locked in syndrome, like where you're completely and absolutely aware, but you cannot communicate or interact with the outside world. Like you can hear, and like a lot of people, when they talk about locked in syndrome, they're like, they think they're in a coma and their eyes are closed and they think they're sleeping, but they're not. They're awake the literal entire time.
Own body. Martin calls on everyone to treat each other with kindness, respect, and sympathy. Never underestimate the power of reason, the importance of love and faith, and don't ever stop dreaming. But no matter how marvelous the story of Martin seems, it's not the only one. In 2007, a Polish guy named Jan Grzyzewski came to his senses after spending 19 years in a coma. Yes, friends, for 19 years. In the 80s, Jan, who was at that time 46 years old, worked as a trackman on the railway. But during the work, he was seriously injured by a fastening of the car and was urgently sent to the hospital. Doctors told the relatives the sad news. In addition to the injuries received, Jan suffered from a brain tumor and soon fell into a coma. The prospects were disappointing. Grzyzewski could not last more than 3 years. But Jan's wife, Gertruda, was not about to give up. Every day, she not only did all the necessary procedures for her husband, but also constantly talked to him, sharing the latest news. It would seem like quite a meaningless occupation, but Gertruda saw Jan react to her words. She just thought everyone else didn't see it. The man's fingers trembled and his eyes moved under his eyelids, but the doctors asserted that these involuntary convulsive movements meant nothing. But as Jan grew older, the size of the tumor decreased, allowing him to gradually regain consciousness. In the end, everything ended in a completely unexpected way. Mr. Grzyzewski came to himself on April the 12th, 2007. Doctors couldn't say anything. Turned out that Gertruda was right all this time. At the time when Grzyzewski fell into a coma, he had 4 children. Back then, Poland, or rather the then Polish People's Republic, was in a deep economic crisis. The workers constantly organized mass strikes, and in general, life was not easy. Imagine what was Jan's surprise when he discovered that the world around was completely different. And if he fell asleep in the era of communism, then he woke up in a country that had joined the European Union. "When I went into a coma, there was only tea and vinegar in the shops. Meat was rationed, and huge petrol queues were everywhere. Now I see people on the streets with cell phones, and there were so many goods in the shops. It makes my head spin."
Okay, so if you think about it, that is a really interesting point. I mean, look how different it is right now than it was 10 years ago, 20 years ago. Like on one hand, you could say we've progressed, right? We've progressed so far. I understand that. But on the flip side, someone 20 years ago, if my teen me who heard Meredith Brooks singing the song Bitch was like, oh, they let this on the radio? What? And like listen to things like on silent, like to hear the stuff that's on mainstream now, not everything's better. Some things are great. Like, I'm not saying that, but can you imagine being, and that's here. I'm talking about in a country like that, to go to sleep in just poverty and sadness in the country, and then to wake up and things have completely changed. The entire structure of your government has changed.
Grzyzewski said in an interview. In addition, when he regained consciousness, Jan suddenly discovered that all his children had grown up long ago and had their own family.
See, this is what I'm talking about when I was talking about comas. This is what I thought it was. You go to sleep, you wake up, and you're like, oh, because here's the thing. If she was talking to him the whole time and he was aware, which they didn't say he was aware, but he was aware, he would have known his kids were growing up because he would have talked to them. She would have told him about how they were getting older and graduating and doing all these things. he would have known. So if he didn't know, then that's the kind of coma that I was thinking, where they go to sleep and they wake up and they're Rip Van Winkle.
And he himself became the happy grandfather of 11 grandchildren.
Oh my God.
However, according to Grzebski himself, being a grandfather was not news to him, as Gertruda told him all about this, and the man heard every word.
Oh!
Another similar case occurred to a guy named...
Okay, by the way, if you go to sleep and you're like 30 and you wake up and you're 50, are you still 30? Does it matter if you can hear and everything the whole time? Does that, like, what is that what ages you? What if you woke up and you were 25 years older? I feel like some days I wake up and I feel 25 years older. And then most of the time I feel like, I mean, I have to count my age, y'all, because I forget. I forget all the time. I forget all the time. I think I'm sincerely stuck in my 30s and I'm just going to stay there forever. You can't tell. I identify as 30 something. You can't tell me otherwise.
Juan Torres. In 2013, when Juan was only 19, his parents discovered that he was unconscious on the floor of his own bedroom. The boy didn't speak. He couldn't eat or move independently. Doctors told relatives that the young man is in a vegetative state, and it was possible he could stay like this for the rest of his life. It was completely unclear why Juan suddenly disconnected from the world. The night before, nothing strange had happened to him, and he didn't feel unwell. According to the parents, he just came home from work, ate a salad, and went to bed. But something happened that night, and in the morning, the mother...
Those salads be salading, y'all. Never underestimate the power rabbit food.
Ate a salad and went to bed. But something happened that night, and in the morning, the mother found Juan unconscious. It's been 2 whole years before some changes had taken place in his condition. One day on Thanksgiving Day, family members took the young man to the backyard to have some fresh air. Juan's favorite dogs were playing around, and suddenly his father made a strange decision. He put a dog's whistle on his son's lips, and suddenly Juan whistled. It was obvious this wasn't a simple reflex, and it soon became clear that the guy began to recover. Soon after the unexpected experiment, Juan began to move his lips, then whisper, and after all, he could speak on a par with others. Having fully recovered his voice, gradually other cool things returned too, like the ability to draw, play the piano, or play with the dogs. Juan even learns to walk again, and although this isn't easy, he's succeeding. Surprisingly, like the other heroes of our video, the guy claims to have memorized all that has happened in those 2 years. For example, asking doctors to move his arm or watching a tennis ball. And it's not just words. Using special tests, scientists have confirmed Juan did really see, hear, and understand everything that was happening. He also told he was very upset about this. He couldn't communicate with his family and wasn't able to do what the doctors asked him to do.
How frustrating would that be? Okay, so here we go with the technical terms again. If he's in a vegetative state, okay, how's he looking at a tennis ball vegetative state? Generally, their eyes are closed, aren't they? Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe they're like, you know what I mean? I could, and maybe they're seeing it. I mean, my eyes get dry, but wouldn't it be even worse if you were like in a vegetative state with your eyes open and you usually wore glasses, right? Or contacts, and you didn't have them in. So like, not only were you stuck not being able to talk to anyone or do, communicate, but everything's freaking blurry for like years. That would suck. I mean, I guess if you didn't know any better, right?
It was really sad. In the end, Juan Torres was able to overcome his unknown disease, return to school, and even engaged in sports, including wheelchair rugby. The guy spends his free hours on a computer, writing electronic music, and the doctors...
You and me both, honey. My PC is my best friend.
Well, they still can't find any explanation for what happened to Juan. Perhaps youth and physical strength helped him to recover, but only these factors are not enough, because so few people come to their senses and live a full life.
Okay, but if he came, they're saying you can't say that. Is if you say youth, but you just showed older people that were older. So the guy from Poland, right? He was solidly older and recovered. So I don't think I can understand that maybe the doctor said that, but I just don't think it's applicable in a video where you're showing people of all ages. I don't know. I'm overthinking it. That's my superpower, y'all.
Having been on the edge, maybe it's just a miracle. Guys, it's time to recharge your brain. Visit the channel Brain Time. There you'll find a lot of interesting and useful facts, lots of positive energy, and tons of useful information. Subscribe right now. We promise it's going to be really exciting.
Thanks
it
for
looks
watching.
interesting.
Please like and share the video in social networks.
Oh,
and
you're
we'll be right
welcome.
back to you as far
I'm sharing it right now. Y'all go check it out, you know? It's not what I thought. I honestly kind of thought that maybe it was like somebody had like lived their life, like another life in like the Fey realm. I know that's so wild. I read too much. Like they lived their whole life in the Fey realm and they came back and they're like, you know what? It's gorgeous. And can I go back? That would be great. Or I don't know. Or maybe they like lived with an angel. I don't know what I expected. That's why I didn't want any expectations. I didn't know what I expected. That wasn't it. I think that I'm more hung up on the technical terms because you tell me you're in a coma and your brain thinks one thing. I understand that there are different variations of like a coma or a level of inability to communicate. I understand that every situation's different. I understand that unexplained things happen. I guess I kind of was just hoping for something a little, and I'm not belittling their experience. I think it's amazing, and I'm happy. I mean, dude, like straight up, he like woke up, started talking to everybody, and he got married. I mean, good for you, bro. And she's cute. Like, do you, Ben? I mean, I think that's great. I guess I just didn't expect it to turn out that way. I was thinking it was going to be a little bit more like mysterious. I don't know if you've seen any like that are a little bit more eclectic, right? Or wild or fantastical. I'm here for it. Like, let me know. Tell me what to look up. Like, tell me the search term, tell me the channel and the name of the video or whatever. So at least I can search for it or drop it in the Discord like some people do, or send me a DM. Either way. Anyway, I hope you enjoyed that. That was interesting. Like I said, I didn't expect it. I mean, I kind of think that, it kind of implied that it was going to be a different vibe to the video, maybe. I don't know. What do you think? Go click on it. Go show them some love. Anyway, that was this guy came out of a 12-year coma, and what he told amazed everyone. To be honest, the first guy, I wasn't amazed. I was really happy for him, but I wasn't like amazed because remember, he wasn't completely asleep. The last guy actually kind of shocked me a little bit more because he was in a vegetative state and he heard everything, and that kind of shocked me. But anyway, I hope you have a good day. I have to get this edited and make a thumbnail, and then I've got I think by the time I'm done, I'll probably have 15 minutes, and then I gotta work today. So I'll post it sometime. Anyway,